The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Unalakleet, Alaska, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 34448. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Let's start down at the front bumper. In the front bumper cutout, you'll find passenger side and driver side open-ended tow hooks attached to the frame rail. Located directly in the center, you'll find your PA speaker and siren. Moving up from this location onto the outer edge fender, you're going to find your headlight structure housing a low and high beam headlight and also a turn indicator. Moving into the grille area next to the Pierce logo is where you'll find your forward-facing front emergency warning lights. Moving up just above the Freightliner logo is the grab location for tilting the hood of your apparatus. Let's move around to the front fender where you'll find a side-facing emergency warning light. Up onto the top of the fender, you'll find your turn indicator marker light, and then as we move up onto the hood itself, you'll find your air inlet for your engine. Moving down to the front axle area, you'll find Michelin tires and Alcoa wheels. Let's move from this location up to the very rear section of the fender where you'll find the release mechanism for the hood. As we now move to the cab, I'd like to identify a few items. Just underneath the step areas where you'll find perimeter lighting, 2 steps to gain access into the cab, a door handle which does have a keyed lock, and then as we move up to the very back wall of the cab is where you'll find a grab handle for gaining access in and out of the cab. Moving further onto the side, passenger and driver side, you'll find a flat and convex mirror. Let's move from this location back down to the bottom of the truck where you'll find your perimeter lighting step light. As we move now to the fuel tank, you'll find the ultra low sulfur diesel fuel. It is the silver cap. As we move just to the rear of this location, you'll find the blue cap, which is going to be your DEF fill location. Moving up from this location, just under the cab is where you'll find the release mechanism for the battery box. Here's a couple of close-ups of the cab area that we just talked about. Let's go ahead and go inside the cab area. When we open the door on the door panel itself, we'll find all of our caution, warning, and safety information. As we look inside the cab, down at the very bottom, this is where your battery box is located and also perimeter lighting just underneath the cab floor. As we move to the left, we do have a warning label here regarding a climbing issue. Be cautious when climbing into the vehicle and use grab handles. Let's move inside to the cab now. Let's first start at the seat area where you'll find comfort controls. This is an air ride seat on the left hand side, and then on the right you'll find front to back location lever. The yellow placard here is manufactured by Pierce. We'll go over that in just a moment. And as we move down to the floor area, you'll find your master battery switch. The yellow placard here indicates the date of manufacture, the 5-digit job number, gross vehicle weight rating, cold tire inflation. It has the VIN number, and then it has all of your fluid capacities and types of fluid for your vehicle. Let's move inside now to the dash area. Let's start at the left knee of the operator. Down at the lower section, you'll find a keyed ignition. As we move upward from this location onto the dash, you'll find your speed control for your cruise control for your vehicle. As we move down the next set of levers, you'll find a cruise control, excel, and coast. And then we'll move down further, you'll find your headlight control, and then also increase and decrease rocker switch for brightening and dimming the lights within the driver's preview. Let's move back all the way up to the top where you'll find a black placard. This is going to be your height, length, and gross vehicle weight rating. If you make any adjustments to your vehicle in any of these 3 areas, please update this placard. Let's move from this location to the instrument cluster. First, starting at the bottom, you'll find your transmission, water temperature, and also oil pressure. On the right, you'll find your fuel, DEF level, front and rear air. Speedometer and tachometer in the center. Diagnostic engine information will display above the speedometer. Let's move just to the right where you'll find your filter minder. This is for your engine air filter. Just to the right, you'll find your automatic traction control, normal spin switch. Just down from that location, you'll find your Allison transmission pad. We do have an indicator light. First, we'll start on the far right-hand side with pump engaged in a green indicator. OK to pump, and then OK to pump and roll. All 3 green indicators. As we move to the right,
you'll find your pull to apply your system parking brake and push to release. Just to the right, you'll find your pump PTO. You'll also find your high idle switch and an alarm reset. Moving to the right, you'll find a digital information center. Moving further to the right, you'll find a red "Do not move your truck." You may have a compartment or door open. Let's move further down for the OK to engage the high idle indicator and also a battery indicator. Moving to the left, you'll find your mirror heat, differential lock, and then also you'll find regen information. Also seatbelt information just in the Pierce logo area. Green indicating someone has their seatbelt on and is in the seat. Red indicating they're in the seat but not belted. Let's move down from this location to the climate control area. Just down from that, you'll find power outlets on the right and left, window control, and automatic door locks. Let's go ahead and go overhead now. Just over the driver's head is where you'll find a set of switches. We'll first start with the switches over this area, and then we'll move to the center area. Starting first on the left-hand side, you'll find a switch labeled Emergency Master. This will control all of your emergency lights, lower zone and rear zone light switches, future switches if necessary, and then to the right you'll find a selector switch for either horn or siren. Any of these switches are illuminating, they're indicating that they have been activated. Moving to the right, we'll find rear scene lights and then also your siren and PA speaker control head. Let's go ahead and go to the exterior area with a pump panel on the driver's side. We'll start down at the very bottom, just underneath the side step. Starting at the very bottom, you'll find all of your color-coded and labeled drains. Your pump is also an enclosed area. You can see at the very bottom, this gains access to the pump from the bottom area. As we move up from this location, you'll find a placard on the left-hand side indicating the brand of pump that you have, which is a Hale. Moving to the right, you'll find an air inlet and then also a 2.5-inch female auxiliary inlet located with the ball valve. Moving just to the right, you'll find a pump drain. And then moving further to the right, we do have a warning label here regarding pressure hazard. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. Moving just to the right, you'll find your auto eject. It is the yellow placard here. It is a 20 amp auto eject plug. Moving just to the left, you'll find your pump compartment heater. That is a twist, not a pull. As we move up to the upper left-hand corner, we'll find an additional warning label here that only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment and only after they received proper training. Moving just above that location, you'll find your 2.5-inch discharge, and then further to the right, you'll find your large diameter pump intake. Let's take a look at some close-ups of the items that we just talked about. First starting on the right with the yellow auto eject plug, and then we'll move just to the left. This is your 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet. It's a female coupling. Moving from this location, we'll go ahead and move just to the very top where you'll find your engine cooler. That's a twist, not a pull. And then let's go ahead and start upward at the discharges. We'll talk a little bit about those next. First, starting on the far left-hand side, you'll find the number 1 crosslay and number 2 crosslay, yellow and white in color. Moving to the right, you'll find the number 1 driver side discharge and the number 2 passenger side discharge. Moving down from this location, you'll find the pink deluge discharge, and then moving to the right, green large diameter passenger side discharge. Let's move further to the right. We'll identify a few things here that are important. First, starting with the tank fill and recirculating line. Also, just down from that, you'll find your tank to pump. Underneath it, you'll find your fire pump primer. It is a push to prime air prime. Therefore, on the left, we do have a label indicating at least 1,000 RPMs for best practices. Let's now take a look at some close-ups of the items we just talked about. These, once again, are the discharges. Just a simple left turn on that handle will also lock it in position. Let's move up to the next section. We'll identify your 2 master gauges. First, starting on the left, pump discharge and then pump intake. Moving to the right, you'll find your panel light switch and also a pump heater switch. Moving down from that, in the blue module, you'll find your water tank level indicator. And then just underneath that, you'll find your vacuum and pressure test gauge ports. They are currently plugged and are for testing purposes. Moving just to the right, the small black speaker is an audible alarm. The outer edge of that bezel does allow you to dampen that sound or increase the sound. To the right, you'll find an indicator OK to pump, illuminating green if it is OK to pump. And now let's talk a little bit about the pump boss. This is your pressure throttle governor. If illuminated in yellow, it would be a check engine light in the upper left corner. Also a digital readout for the RPM. And then to the right, if illuminated, it would be red in color. That is a stop engine light. Let's move down on the next side of the pump boss. The blue is your menu button, which allows you to scroll through the various menu functions of your pump boss. Located in the center are all of your diagnostic engine information. And then to the right, you'll find a silence button, which is red, allowing you to silence any of the audible alarms that may be functioning from your pump boss. Let's move down to the two yellow buttons, pressure and RPM or throttle. These are the two options you have for your pump boss. In the center, you'll find the digital readout, and then to the right, you'll find a green throttle ready indicator. You'll also find just underneath the throttle ready indicator a green preset button. This allows you to preset any pressures or RPMs. Moving downward, you'll find the throttle, right to increase on the dial, left to decrease. If you'd like to go to the idle position, simply push in the center on the red idle button. Let's move over to the right to the next module. This is going to be your gauge heater. It is thermostatically controlled. You can see it has an on-off and then also a fault indicator. To the right, you'll find your minimum operation maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 test pressures. As we move just over the pump panel, you'll find your crosslays for the number 1 and number 2 crosslay. And then just a quick view here, you can see the netting and then also the location of the swivel elbow at the very top. Also, you'll find in the very center of the dunnage area or crosslay area, this is going to be your master stream device. As we move to the rear body of the compartments, you'll find emergency warning lights just to the rear of the axle and at the very top. As we move through and open the compartments, you will have LED lighting inside. The top compartments do have adjustable shelving along with adjustable shelving on the bottom. As we look to the upper left, this is your battery charging system. When plugged into shore power, that will be active. You can see the LED lighting on each side of the compartment, adjustable shelf in the center. Let's go ahead and move back now to the rear axle area. Just to the rear of it is where you'll find an additional compartment, ventilation within these compartments. And also, just to the rear of the axle, you'll find that emergency warning light. Let's move to the rear of the apparatus now, first starting on the left and right with the brake, turn, reverse, emergency warning light cluster, and then at the very bottom, you'll find an additional emergency warning light at the very back section. Moving to the center, just between the latter is where you'll find a switch. This is your hose bed light switch, allowing you to engage the lights in the hose bed. At the very top, you'll find a scene light rear facing. As we move to the center, you'll find your dump chute. This is the manual release for the lock mechanism, and then just above that or to the right of it is where you'll find the manual pull to release and open the valve. Moving to the right, you'll find a 2.5-inch female inlet. This is a direct tank fill. Also inside the sleeve, you'll find an extension on the dump chute. As we look underneath, you'll find perimeter lighting located on the right and left side, along with your clearance lights and then also your backup alarm. Moving up from this location, difficult to see in the other images, these are attached to the rear frame rail. These are your attachment point or tow hooks. Let's go all the way up to the top of the vehicle where you'll find this yellow area indicating the walking space. And then you'll also find in the left corner here, this is your top fill for your water tank. Let's take a look at the rear and we'll also identify a few more items on the passenger side. We have a 10-foot folding ladder and then also a 14-foot roof and a 24-foot extension ladder. As we move to the side, you'll find same configuration and layout as the driver's side as you do on the passenger side. Emergency warning lights in the lower section and then also one in the upper section. I'd also like to point out this label here indicating a warning: extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures. Be cautious where you park your vehicle. Let's go ahead and take a look with the compartment doors in the open position. You can see in the forward compartment we do have a bottle storage for 3 bottles. As we move now to the pump panel area, just beneath the crosslays, you'll find an access panel, lift and turn latch to gain access. Just down from that location, you'll find your green large diameter passenger side discharge. As we move further down, you'll find your pump inlet on the passenger side. And then also as we move forward, you'll find a 2.5-inch passenger side discharge. Moving further down, you'll find all of your color-coded and labeled discharge drains. And then on the left wall, you'll find 2 fold-down steps for gaining access aloft. As we move underneath the vehicle, you'll also find enclosed pump panel access. Here's some close-ups of the items that we just talked about. Lift and turn latch gives you access into the pump area. You'll also find your large diameter pump intake and also the number 3 discharge. As we move to the bottom, these are all your color-coded and labeled discharge drains. And then just a quick view of the left side of the pump area above the panel and also your crosslays. Let's move from this location now to the cab area. Just underneath, as you did on the driver's side, we have perimeter lighting just under the steps. And as we move up, you'll find your grab handle to gain access to the door, which is a keyed lock, and also a grab handle on the rear wall for gaining access in and out of the cab for firefighter safety. You'll also find, as we move underneath, here are some close-ups of the lights on the bottom for the ground area, perimeter, and then also step lights just under the cab. As we move inside the cab door, you'll find a grab handle to gain access inside, and then you'll also find in the lower right-hand floor area a foot pedal switch for the electronic siren. We'll take a look at some close-ups first, starting with the floor electronic siren foot pedal. Moving up to the dash area, you'll find a cup holder and also air conditioning vents. As we move to the far right A-pillar, you'll also find a grab handle. Looking overhead, you'll find storage access to the center-mounted reading lights and then also your siren PA speaker system. Moving to the door panel, at all points of entry for firefighters, you'll find these affixed to the door panel, all of your caution and warning information. Let's move to the right front fender, where we'll find the access release for the hood, and then also directly over the top of the fender is the turn indicator and emergency warning light. Once again, Michelin tires, Alcoa wheels. As we move around to the front of the vehicle, we'll find your headlight structure housing low and high beam headlights and also turn indicators. Congratulations on your new Pierce fire apparatus. If you have any questions regarding the content or information about your vehicle, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.